My 25 female, husband 27 male is angry because I'm pregnant with twins and he only wanted one kid. So for some background, my husband 27 male and I 25 female have been together for 5 years, married for 2. My husband grew up in a very strict and traditional family. His parents were very religious and they had 8 children. My husband is a second born child, but he has an older brother who is severely disabled. So growing up, his parents forced him to basically raise and watch over all of his siblings. Growing up, my husband had no childhood. From the moment he was able to do things independently, his parents forced him to grow up too fast. Directly after school, he was forced to feed, bathe, change, and take care of his older brother. And on top of that, he was expected to take care of all 6 of his younger siblings. His parents were very neglectful. His mom was only attentive to her children when they were babies, but once they started walking and becoming their own person, she kind of stopped being a mother. It's also important to note that his parents had a very unhappy relationship, but they refused to get divorced, so my husband grew up in a very toxic household. Before my husband and I started dating, we talked a lot about our ideal futures. I told him that I wanted kids, maybe after being married for a couple of years. He told me that he wasn't sure if he wanted kids or not because he was afraid to end up treating them like his father treated him. And as much as he loved to have his own kids, it would destroy him if he became another version of his father. I was already in therapy at the time, so I suggested he look into therapy as well. Shortly after we started dating, he began seeing a therapist. He has really come a long way, especially learning to love himself, and I'm proud of him. After almost 2 years in therapy, he told me that he changed his mind about kids. He explained that therapy helped him realize that he was just afraid of becoming his father, and he's actively learning to unlearn toxic behaviors that he grew up in. He also explained that he was open to the idea of kids in the future and wanted to be the father he never had. Well, we've been married for 2 years and both have stable jobs. So earlier this year, I brought up kids and how I wanted to start trying for a baby. He admitted that he was a little scared, but he was ready to be a dad. We had multiple long conversations about the type of parents that we wanted to be, our parenting style, and what we deemed as unacceptable behaviors for parents. And my husband mentioned that he only wants to have one kid. He was pretty clear about how he didn't want his kids to repeat his childhood, where the older child has to take care of the younger one. We found out that I was pregnant about 3 weeks ago while we were visiting my family in Brazil. We got back home last week and I had my first ultrasound yesterday. I'm almost 9 weeks pregnant. The ultrasound confirmed that I'm carrying twins. My husband couldn't come to the appointment with me because he had to work, but I surprised him as soon as he got home. I was expecting him to be happy and even nervous or scared, but he was really mad. He started freaking out and kept asking me if I was joking. Then he just straight up asked me to terminate my pregnancy. What the fudge? I just stared at him because I was shocked. I told him that I wasn't going to abort the babies that we planned. Then he got really mad and said that he only wanted one baby. He told me to either abort both or at least abort one of our twins and keep the other. I'm speechless. That's honestly ridiculous. I don't even know if that's possible, but I refused. We got into a really intense argument. He has never yelled at me until yesterday. He just kept yelling about how he only agreed to one baby and how I'm being selfish. He left the house last night. I've tried to call him, but he won't answer his phone. I don't know where he is. Twins don't run in my family, and they don't run in his family either. It just happened, and I have no way of controlling that. I don't understand why he's behaving like this. He was so happy about becoming a dad, and now he's asking me to get rid of our babies. I'm really lost. I haven't gotten much sleep, and I had to call out of work today.
Am I the asshole for refusing to eat dinner because my husband added unnecessary spices? My 31 female, husband, 33 male, and I alternate days that we cook dinner and clean up after dinner. He recently started a medication that is zapping his energy, so I've been cooking and cleaning full-time for the past month. It is getting exhausting, working full-time, cooking every meal, meal prepping, cleaning the whole house, etc. I know it won't be forever, and I'm willing to carry the load while he gets sorted. I was in the middle of prepping the chicken for tonight's dinner, and he offered to take over. At first, I said no, it's okay, I'll do it, because he had a stressful workday. He insisted, so I obliged him, but asked that he stick to the spices I have out on the counter and the ratios because the chicken will be sauced and I don't want the spice and sauce to be battling on the plate. He was to use salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and Tony's spice. It was going to be sauced with Panda Express teriyaki sauce. We aren't fine diners, but I wanted it a certain way. He agreed to stick to the plan. I went upstairs to change our sheets and pick the bedroom up. When I came downstairs, the chicken was on the cutting board, covered in smoked paprika and red chili flakes. I looked at him and he at me with this, "Oh shit, I'm caught" look on his face. I said, quote, "Wow, that was disrespectful, and I'm not eating that." He scoffed and said, quote, "It's 2 extra spices. It's fine." He followed that up with, quote, "I saved a chicken breast in case you saw it before it was cooked. I'll make that one the way you want." I refused to accept that because he looked me in my face and said he wouldn't stray from the plan, and then did it anyways in hopes of not being caught. I am not a picky eater and will pretty much eat anything, but I can't get past the blatant disrespect on this. I know some of my emotions are coming from the exhaustion of carrying the team right now, but I still don't think this makes me the asshole.
That's Kobe, and he started a business in the garage of his mother's house, grew to over $1 million, and ultimately lost it to somebody that he thought he could trust. Kobe tells us several times he's learned his lesson. I don't want to see too much dragging happening in the comments. Let's be kind. Now, Kobe comes from a family of business owners. They've all had some form of business, whether it's his mother or his father or his aunties and uncles. They're very versed in that. And so when he decided that, hey, this is the path I'm also going to take, his parents told him, as long as you create a business proposal, we'll go ahead and help you with the first investment. And so he does so. They help him. He gets his supplies. At this point, he's just selling at his school, selling at craft sales, really just like creating a love for having his own business. So by the time 2020 rolled around and he was working the entrepreneurial center at his school and everything got closed down because of COVID, he really started to get into his business and really focusing on that. He was just working and figuring out products that he can sell, figuring out formulas for it. And so by the time 2021 came, he was like, okay, I'm going to really take this seriously. I want it to be a business, so I'm going to treat it as a business. One day he got the idea to post on TikTok, so he posted 3 videos. He went to sleep, woke up the next morning. One of his videos had gotten to 3,000 views. He had made $300. By the end of the day, he made $3,000. And he was like, wow, this really works. I have to start content creating. By the end of the day, he has 12,000 followers. So he goes in. The next day, he posts another 3 videos, makes another 8K. So to him, he's like, wow, I just made 12K in less than 5 days. And I made 12K all of the year before. He decides to get an office at this place called The Gather, where they do co-sharing space, and he meets a lot of people there. They're giving him advice. They're super excited for him. Some people are genuinely really happy for him. This one guy though in particular, he calls him Believe, is very, very much so invested, and very much so trying to help him out, give him advice. He's always stopping by his office. He's always telling him hey, try this, try that, just heavily involved in Kobe's business. Kobe talks about how he grew up in a really good family and didn't have a lot of big T trauma. And so maybe his radar for, spotting out red flags and noticing when someone's being, manipulative and trying to take advantage of him aren't his strongest suits, right? So he's very gullible. He admits that. So when this guy was just trying to help and trying to be so involved, he didn't think anything of it. He was just wow, this guy's so nice. What did I do to deserve such a kind person? But in business, there's no such thing as nice person. Everybody's doing something for $1. So once he fulfills all the orders, he's like, what should I do now? And he's like, get 1,000 pre-orders done, go ahead and get all the supplies and sell them. And so he's like, I'm really scared. That's me using half of the profits that I just made, so $6,000, putting it back in my business. And Believe is like, yo, I believe in you. You're amazing. You're a bright young man. Let me put the money up and you do it and just pay me back. And so he doesn't think too much of it. He's like, okay, bet. So he takes the money, he gets the supplies, he sells out the 1,000 orders and fulfills them and gives back Believe his money immediately. That was January when he first popped off. In February, he makes $35,000. Now that Believe had a little bit of skin in the game by inputting that $6,000 and getting paid back, his interest in the business skyrockets. He's all over it, coming by the office constantly, asking how's everything going, what's the numbers looking like. He's all up in his business. Believe is like, oh, I'm about to start another business. I want to do other things now. You're not going to see me as much. And at this point, Kobe gets a little scared because he's like, wow, I wouldn't have gotten all this success if it wasn't for you and your guidance. I don't really want to be left out here by myself, And this is where he starts getting manipulated. He just felt like this guy was so nice and so helpful that he couldn't possibly survive without him, And so he basically tells him hey, what do I have to do to have you stay full time, and help me out? The guy turns around and he says, I want equity. I don't want any money. I don't want to take any cash out of the business. I want 15% equity. And so, okay, I think I can make that happen. And he agrees. He tells him, I'm going to help you set up systems. And once the systems are set up, I'll back out and I'll just be a silent investor and just be there as a mentor, giving you advice, but not in the day-to-day activities. At this point, they do a handshake agreement on 15%. Believe starts helping even more, setting up systems, and then this allows Kobe to just be creative, launch products, market, just focus on things that he really loves and not so much the admin, the logistics, ordering product, making sure it gets there, all of the like money things you have to do to upkeep an actual business. When this switchover happens, within the first 5 days of him launching his newest product, he makes $70,000. So in his mind, he's like, this is the greatest thing I could have done. This is a great partnership. March and April are massive months, and then May comes along. He's trying to pump out a Mother's Day event, and he's telling him I can't do that. It's too soon. I don't have anything ready for it. I just have a sticker. I don't even have a product for you. And Believe is I don't care. We got to put something out. And that's when he realized this dude's really in it just for the money, And so let him use the sticker. Obviously the product failed. It didn't do that well. They move on to the next month. He states that it was a massive mistake for him not to know what was happening in the business and to completely trust him with the logistics and the money and only focusing on the creative and not really checking in, because he started slowly saying things yeah, when I get my 20%, I'll start doing this and doing that, and then slowly increased a very casual conversation to, oh yeah, when I get my 25%, I'll do this and that. And when the paperwork finally got drawn and they signed it, 25% is what this guy ended up giving himself in the company, even though they only agreed on 15% being given when they did the handshake deal initially. Starting to realize that he's getting exhausted and burnt out. Having to launch a brand new product every other week is absolutely insane. From the marketing to the branding to creating the product is all on him, and he's just I can't do this. And mind you, Believe doesn't really value creative work. The fact that he needs to be at home to create, he needs to be on a walk to feel inspiration, he doesn't value that. He's you're not in the office, you're not doing the work, you're not in the warehouse. I'm doing everything, but he's I'm the one creating the products and launching them and making us 70,000 in 5 days, But Believe doesn't see it that way. He never sees it that way. Remember, he was only just supposed to come in, set up processes, and leave. But at this point, it's been from February to July that Believe has been in the business, and all he's done is continuously renew the system that he has set up every time the business grows and gets bigger. They hire people, then now they need more people. They get an office, now they need a bigger office. It's just a constant revamping of the system, which makes sense. It's a new startup, but when is he supposed to phase himself out at this point? July comes around and Believe is hey, let's go out for coffee. He takes him to coffee and sits down Kobe, and he's hey, I feel I'm here full time. I think I need more money. I need to be paid more because I'm giving a lot, and I need to make sure that my, I'm being covered. And so he tells him okay, well, what are you thinking? And he's I want 50-50. What? Thank God at this point he knew enough to know 50-50 is a big red flag. We need to stop, pump the brakes. Basically, Believe tells him, if you don't give me 50-50, I'm not going to be able to take care of the money, the HR, the logistics of it. You're going to need to do that, and I'm going to need to show you and transition it over to you because I'm going to want to go do my own things and create my own businesses. At this point, he's scared to tell him how he feels, how he thinks that he's really overtaking the business and his vision is being lost. He's not speaking up for himself. He's not telling him anything. And even though his family are in business, they know about this. He's been getting advice from them, but not really taking it. You feel me? Especially when it came to partnering with Believe and listening to their opinions about why they thought it was a little sus how this guy was so involved from the jump. He just wasn't taking the advice. He was I got this. You guys don't know anything about social media, discrediting their business credentials because they didn't do it through social media, but through more grassroots marketing. You know what I'm saying? And so he kind of discounted his parents' advice and never listened to them. Had he says if he at least listened to his father's advice, he wouldn't have had half the things that happened to him happen. He did go and ask advice about whether or not he should do a 50-50 split, and everybody down the line was do not do it. It's not a good idea. The father basically told him hey, why don't you tell him I know you want to get paid more. I agree. You should get paid more. Let's give you a salary. So when he went back to Believe and gave him that option of I'll give you a salary, Believe was oh, there's no way the company can pay me how much I'm worth from a salary. I need equity. My time needs to be, reimbursed appropriately. Mind you, at this point, the business is making close to $200,000 a month. There's definitely a number in there that they can pay you as a salary, bud. Believe ends the conversation basically saying you make the decision. I don't know what you're going to decide, but either way, I'm here to support you. If you decide to not go 50-50, I'll back off and let you transition into the admin position. If you do decide, I can help you a lot. I can do this and do that. He's whatever you decide, I support. I believe in you. You're going to do great things in this world. I just want to be a part of it. I'm grateful that I was a part of it up until this point. The whole time Kobe's thinking this guy keeps telling me that he has other businesses he wants to start. I don't want to be the one to stop him. So he sets up another coffee meeting so they can discuss the equity split. He's like, I'm going to go ahead and transition you out. I refuse the 50-50 split. You go ahead and go do your other adventures, and I'll take over my business full time. The first words that come out of Belief's mouth is, you're going to burn this business down to the ground. I built this monster. You don't know how to take care of it. Kobe is shook. He's like, what? You told me that no matter what I decided, you were going to be okay with it, that you support me, you believe me, you're just happy to be a part of the ride. And now it's, I'm going to burn my business down to the ground. I don't know what to do. Like, he's like, are you really mad I'm not giving you 50% when you already have an extra 10% you were never supposed to have in the first place? We agreed on 15% and you took 25, and you're sitting here now like I should have 50? Are you serious? Like, he's big mad. Right then and there, he texts the warehouse manager and he's like, you need to report to Kobe from now on. Don't text me these reports anymore. And then the manager texted Kobe and was like, I guess I send you the reports now of like what we need. He's like, here's all the things that we need to take care of. Here's all the things that we're running low on. And then Belief sits there and he goes, here's a list of everything that I was going to take care of today, and just writes him this like long list, like trying to overwhelm him essentially. At this point, he goes to the warehouse to try to figure out like what do we need. And mind you, he doesn't even have access to the bank accounts at this point. He has a debit card that gets him into the bank account and he can access money, but he doesn't know like passwords and logins. He goes up to the office to figure out like what the banking information is, who are they even banking with. And at that point, Belief walks in and he's like, oops. And so he backs off from his desk. Their desks are like, right in front of each other. He leaves, and then right when he was about to go downstairs to go to the warehouse, Belief walks back in. He starts yelling at him saying, I can't believe you have been taken advantage of. Like, I feel like I just helped you set up this whole thing and do all this great stuff with your business, and now I'm just being like asked out. He's like, I feel like I've been working like a little slave for you. Verbatim, this is what Kobe told us, that he said, I feel like I've been working like a little slave for you. He's like, you've been home just doing whatever. Mind you, he hasn't just been home doing whatever. He's been doing the creative part of this business, which he doesn't respect, like I said before, and doesn't see him physically in the office. So he's like, you're slacking off. I'm doing all this work. He tells him, like, I don't understand why you're acting like this. Like, I didn't take advantage of you. You still have your 25%. You still have, work that you can be doing here. Like, I don't know why you're leaving, And so at that point, he's like, oh, you know what? You're right. Like, I think there was a miscommunication. Like, let's talk about this later. Let's just, like, forget this whole thing even happened. And, like, at this point, Kobe's sitting there like, you just went off on me. How are you just now asking me to just, like, forget it and move on and act like this didn't happen? He tells him, like, please don't tell anybody, like, our drama that's happening between us. Like, let's just move on. Kobe's, like, really going through it mentally. Like, is it even worth it? Like, why did I start this business? I'm not even having fun anymore. I used to have fun in my mother's garage, just creating, doing fun things. Now I'm just, like, stressed out. Every time he shows up to the office, he has anxiety. He has anxiety when he talks to this guy. He actually fears talking to this man. He can't even speak up for himself and tell him that he's unhappy, and feels like he's in jail in his own business, I think Belief was like, I can see that he's struggling in the business. He doesn't really want to be here. His heart's not in it. He must have took that as an opportunity to ask for 50% again. And he came in very heavy handed. Like, I can take this off of your plate. I can take care of that. Hiring, firing, HR, paperwork, payroll, supply, checking in on the suppliers. Like, I can take care of all of that. And at this point, because of how like unhappy Kobe was feeling in the business, he was just like, you know what, that honestly sounds great, and I can just focus on the creative side and creating products and doing the marketing. You can do all of that stuff. And so at that point, he actually does agree to the 50%. They draw it up. He tells him, like, I don't want to use your guy. Let's find a new lawyer. They find a new lawyer. They draft up a new agreement. They sign it. This is when Kobe stops telling his parents anything about the business and about Belief, because they had already told him, do not sign 50% of the business over to this man, and he does so. So because he knows that he went against their advice, he stops asking for advice from them. Kobe was happy. He was getting his creative juices back. He was making new products. He was doing his thing. But now, because Belief has more power in the business, he starts inputting on the creative side, saying what should be marketed, how it should be marketed. He's like, yo, this is my sector of the business. You stay over there somewhere. He started to feel like his vision was getting lost, and didn't feel like his vision of having fun and creating something that he loved was the center of the business anymore. It was all just like money, money, money. When's the launch? When's the launch? By the time Cyber Monday, Black Friday came around, he was just like so burnt out. It's one of their biggest, events of the year for any seller, online or not. At that point, he was like, yo, I need a break for the rest of the year. He did a sale for his birthday. And then after that, he's like, I just want to take the rest of the year off. And it was that moment when he took the time off to just like be with his family and be with his loved ones that he realized what's important in life. He thought entire time growing up, once he got successful and made all this money, like at that point his business hit $1 million. He was like, I'm successful, but I'm suffering. I am going through it. I've never experienced anxiety to this degree, And he was just like, this is not happiness. Happiness is being with my loved ones. When he finally had his birthday party and he had all his friends and people that he cares about there and just felt that moment, that's what he had the epiphany of. And he realized that's success. being in those moments, not like working yourself down to the bone and leaving nothing for yourself. That's not happiness, you know, no matter what you do, no matter what industry you're in. Come January, he knew he was going back to work. Anxiety was building and building and building. At this point, he has his own apartment, so he has expenses of his own as well. He gets a 2-week paycheck, and then he also gets his like quarterly profit dividends as well. You know, he's making good money. So when he's at work one day, Believe comes up to me. He's like, hey, I'm wondering, like, how are you feeling? And something inside of him, you know, he was really asking God, like, if this is not a place I should be, like, let me know. Like, tell me I'm not supposed to be in this place. And so when Believe asked him, like, how he was feeling, something inside of him was just like, lay it on him. Tell him everything. So he told him, he was like, da-da-da-da-da. I feel like I'm being suffocated. I don't like this, da-da-da. Like, just, like, laid it out for him. All Believe heard was, I want to leave. I don't want to be here anymore. This is not what I want to do anymore. That's what he heard. But what he was telling him was, the way we're processing, the way we're operating this business is not sustainable. It's not a way that I want to do this anymore. It has to be a better way for us to make money and still have some type of balance in our lives. You know, it can't just be like, work me to the death. Believe comes back and he's like, let's just hire an in-house marketing person, and that way you can just focus on the things that you want to focus on. Your personal page is blowing up, you have deals that are coming there, how about you do that? And he's like, okay, perfect. Like, I want to work on my own page anyway because it's mine. I 100% own that. I love that. Let's do it. So they hire somebody. A few weeks later, he comes back and he's like, hey, we can't give you your 2-week salary anymore. We need to give that to this girl, Trixie, who's the new marketing girl. He's like, okay, cool. I've been working with Trixie on the contracting side already, so I'm totally down to hire her full time and give her my salary. Gives it to her, right? Believe tells him how Trixie's killing the game. She's getting them all these sales through her SEO optimization on Google, and how happy he is with her. He's really not coming to the office anymore. He's at home. He's coming up with ideas. He's going on his walks. Like, he's doing what he needs to do to come up with ideas so that they can market it and sell it and he can manage it. So now he gets another call from Believe saying, hey, I had to let go of Trixie. She's out of here. When he asks him what happened, all he tells him, like, it's super messy. She's just gone. She was never good. I talked to somebody else. They said that her whole thing was set up incorrectly. She never even brought us results. And he's like, but you literally just told me she did bring you in results. When he talked to Trixie a year later, Trixie told him she never even got paid. So who knows where his 2-week salary went? It never went to that girl. So the business ended up doing a deal with a big shoe company. And then a few weeks later, that same shoe company did a deal with Kobe. His money accidentally ended up getting deposited into the business because for whatever reason, the company made a mistake. So now he's asking Believe for his portion of the money that was sent by the shoe deal, not the portion that was sent to the business. He's asking for his own personal money. And now Believe gives him the runaround, like, oh, we don't have the money. Cash liquid is low. I can't give it to you. And he's just like, okay, fine, whatever, like, pushes the business, like, give it to me when you can. And he keeps giving him dates of when he is going to pay him. Those dates never happen. He never pays him the $5,000. Even for Believe to check to see if the money was ever even sent to the account took forever. When he finally verified, yeah, there's 2 payments here from the shoe company, and he told him, like, hey, this is the amount that I'm expecting, send it to me. It took so long for that communication to happen. So asked him to come to the office one day. When he comes, he's like scaring him about taxes. Like, you're going to owe this much, you're going to owe that much. And he tells him, okay, so like, what do I do? Like, how do I like go about this? And he's like, well, we can make it so that you don't own anything of the company on paper. And this is when he finally steals the entire company from him. On tax basis, he gets him to sign over all of the company to him. Kobe tells him, like, I'm not trying to do anything illegal with the IRS. Like, if you're trying to do some, like, evading taxes or anything like that, like, I'm not doing it. He's like, no, dude. By just saying that you don't own anything on paper, we're going to be able to lower your tax responsibility and you're not going to owe that much. And so he's just like, okay, like, let me think about it, basically. He's like, you'll still get your check every 3 months. It's just on paper going to show that you don't own anything in the business. I'm going to take care of everything. You can go back to college. Like, you don't have to worry about anything. You can go make your parents proud. And at this point, because Kobe hadn't really told his parents that he gave away 50% of the business, he felt like if he went back to college that it would, you know, be something that he can offer as like, look, well, I did this instead, you know? And so this, again, he says that it was him being young and not really thinking things through. And so he thinks about it like, yeah, I could go back to school. He's like, even like the company can pay for it. Believe is like, the company can pay for your going back to school. We can give you a scholarship. It's a tax write-off for us. Like, really making the deal seem sweet, which is what he does with everything. Every time he's manipulating him to do something he wants him to do, he's making the deal so sweet he can't even say no to it. The only thing he verifies is like, I'm going to get my check every 3 months, right? He's like, yes, you'll get your check every 3 months, but on paper, you don't own anything. So he's like, okay, let's do it. Signs the paperwork, now officially has 0% of the company in his hands. He's still thinking he's going to get his profit dividends every 3 months though. So now it's been 3 months. He's supposed to get his first paycheck. Nothing. He calls him up. He says, hey, what's going on? He's like, hey, dude, we just got into warehouse. So the warehouse sales, we got to put a lot of money up front. We get the money in a net 60 payment, like 60 days later after we've completed the order. So like, we're cash poor right now. I can't send you your dividends and I can't send you the shoe deal either. So he's like, okay, like whatever keeps the, business floating, like go ahead and do that. And he gives him a date for when he can send the money. So he's like, okay, cool. I'll wait for that date. So at this point, he asked for the shoe deal money just by itself, like the 5K. And he's like, I can't send you that either. I really don't have any money. And I need you to go get a business account in order for me to send you that money anyway. We're an X Corp. I can't just send you that. So he's like, okay. He goes and gets his own business so that he can send him the money. When he asks a friend, like whether that's true, if he needs to have a business in order for an S Corp to send him money, he tells him that's absolutely not true. That's not true at all. And so it's him catching him in that lie. It's Cody catching him in that lie that spurs him to be like, what is actually going on? He tells them all Believe would have to do is write that this $5,000 was received in error and that it's being rerouted to the correct person. So now he's pulling the pieces together, starting to like go back through the year and being like, oh my God, like I just lost my entire company. Like this man owns all of it. On TikTok, everyone's asking, like, where's Kobe? Like, we don't see him in the videos anymore. Mind you, he is the face of the company, right? So Believe, like, reaches out to him, is like, hey, like, we need you to come in and tell everybody that you're going to school, that the business is in good hands, that we're going to take care of you. We're paying for your college degree and all of that. And at this point, he's like, if you want me to say something, I'm going to need my money first. It's the first time he puts his foot down. He goes to the warehouse the next day and Believe is like, okay, let's do this video. And he's like, I want my money first. And he's like, I told you I'm going to give it to you when we're liquid. He's like, no, you already told me that before. I don't believe you. You're not going to get it to me. Like, I need you to figure that out right now. He's like, I know you lied to me too. I already talked to a tax guy. The whole S Corp needing to be sent to a business, all that is like bullshit. You lied to me. He's like, I already talked to Trixie as well. She already told me that you lied to her and you never paid her either. And at this point, Believe just stops and he goes, man, my mother just passed away and it's just been really hard. And he's like, people are just taking from me and I'm just giving. And the conversation kind of ends there. Periodically, Kobe would ask for his money. He would just keep saying like, sorry, dude, like we don't have any cash flow. The economy is changing, blah, blah, blah. Just giving him all of these excuses. At this point, he's like, there's no point in me talking to you. The only person I need to talk to is a lawyer. So he basically walks away from the business. Like he never got paid. January 2022, that was the last time he ever received money. He lost everything. He lost his car. I don't know if he tells us that he lost his place, but I know he definitely mentioned he lost his car. He had to go back and get a job. Like everything he built, that $1 million business was literally piece by piece taken away from him. And yes, he should have listened to his parents. Yes, he should have taken their advice. But at the end of the day, he was young and he got manipulated by a grown man that knew exactly what he was doing. He moved on. He kept creating his own personal brand. He actually is coming out with like a hair care line. His hair is popping. Go look at his curls. They are beautiful. I would definitely be interested in trying out his products and seeing if it's the rave that he says it is. I mean, based on his curls, I can tell they're really good. He did get clearance from a lawyer in order to tell this story. He is working with someone. He said he can't tell us to what extent he is working with the lawyer and what he's doing, but like he's definitely not just gonna like let this situation pass by. So I wish him the best. I really hope he gets his company back. Like that is just terrible. If you guys ever heard of Famous Amos the cookies, very similar story happened. He kept selling parts and bits of his company up until the point that he owned zero of his company and a board of execs was running his company. Famous Amos was owned by a black man and same thing happened. And it happens when you don't have business literacy, right? He had the access to business literacy, but he didn't use it. That's also something you don't want to do. If you have access to people that you can trust, that are genuinely your family, that have your interest, listen to their advice.
Am I the asshole for wearing sexy clothes in front of my father-in-law, even though it's in my own house? Story time. So I actually have a really good relationship with my father-in-law. Well, I used to anyway. This was up until me and my boyfriend finally moved out. Honestly, it took so long. Now, me and my boyfriend decided to wait to do the deed until we moved out. Now, this sounds a little crazy. However, I moved in with him in his family home and they lived in a bungalow. So everything was very compact and just not sexy, okay? Now, something weird kept on happening as soon as we moved out, and my father-in-law, let's call him Mark, he kept on turning up really randomly to our house. He wouldn't give us any warning. He would sometimes have like no reason to come round, like he would simply just want to come round, which is fine, but give us a bit of notice. I have no idea what we're doing, like absolutely no idea. It made it 10 times worse that he had a key as well, so he literally would just walk into the house. Obviously this made me and my boyfriend bring it up to them and kind of be like, hi, can you knock or let us know before you're coming round? because it's becoming an issue. Mark didn't listen. Mark kept on coming round, and it bit him in the bum one day because he pranced into our house and I was in the kitchen and I was in quite a sexy outfit. However, I was just cooking in it, ready for my boyfriend to come home. And Mark didn't know what to do with himself. He was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, he felt very, very awkward. And I kind of thought, like, good, told you multiple times to not do this. This would kind of like teach him a lesson to not keep coming around our house. It didn't. He kept on doing it. And I decided I'm going to continue making him feel awkward because I need to stop doing this. So basically, kind of got to realise the pattern Mark got into to coming around our house randomly. On these certain days and on these certain times, I would make sure I would be in something sexy. Sometimes underwear. But I did this for like 2 or 3 weeks to the point where Mark actually complained to my boyfriend about it. I had the cheek to ask my boyfriend to ask me to stop wearing this sort of sexy stuff around my house. He was like, it makes him feel uncomfortable. It's very inappropriate for a father-in-law to be seeing a daughter-in-law like this. And I thought, the cheek of it, like the actual cheek of it. Me and my boyfriend decided to embarrass my father-in-law just one more time in front of everybody. And we were going to do this at our family barbecue. So we had our last family barbecue of the year the other day. I basically just said to him whilst we were eating, so in front of everybody, please can you stop coming around our house unannounced? And to be honest, we've told you a couple of times now and you're still not listening. So I just need to know, am I the asshole here? Because I really don't think I am.